Billionaire discovers 10-year-old black girl kicked out by stepfather after mom's funeral. An incredible twist of fate. Caleb Brooks wasn't just another billionaire, he was a man broken by the very game he thrived in. He'd navigated the cutthroat waters of corporate finance, and now, with a high-stakes deal crumbling beneath him like a paper house in a storm, he found himself driving through the decaying streets of his childhood. Each cracked sidewalk and crumbling house bore witness to stories of despair, but also of resilience. As he rolled past, the memories whispered of simpler times, of laughter echoing through the hallways of homes now suffocated by neglect, but nothing prepared him for the sight of the rundown house, paint peeling like old photos. Inside, a glimmer of hope caught his eye. A little girl, no older than 10, perched on a stairwell. Maya, with her bright eyes and an untamed spirit that seemed to shimmer like sunlight through gray clouds, was all that remained of dreams now turned to dust. Recently orphaned, she had been tossed aside, her stepfather viewing her more as a burden than family. "Why are you here?" she asked, suspicion and curiosity dancing in her voice. Caleb's heart sank. He saw the shadows lurking in her gaze, the hurt that twisted and turned like a cruel vine around her innocence. How many nights had she spent tucked away in that house, dreaming of a life beyond these walls? "Just looking," he replied, but deep down, he knew that wasn't enough. Maya's laughter became the balm Caleb didn't know he needed. It chased away the darkness clouding his heart, igniting something within him. He started to stay longer, bringing food, toys that made her eyes pop wide with wonder. But with warmth came judgment. The whispers from the community were like icy gusts that threatened to snuff out their newfound bond. To them, he was nothing more than a billionaire meddling with a poor black girl's life. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. As Caleb opened his home to Maya, he began to see the encroaching shadows that loomed over them. Tension escalated when her stepfather made it clear he wanted control back, bitterness dripping from his words. Each day felt like a battle, not for just shelter or safety but for the worthiness of love and connection. Maya's fire fueled Caleb's own, her relentless spirit a reminder that they were in this together. But as the heat of community scrutiny intensified, he realized they were facing more than just judgment, they were confronting a wall built by fear, prejudice, and wealth disparity. Standing at the precipice of a decision, he felt the weight of every disapproving gaze, every pointed finger. Would he let societal pressures shatter this fragile bond? Or would he step up, risk it all for Maya, proving that family transcends convention? The air crackled with tension, and as they prepared their fundraiser to unite voices for change, darkness loomed just outside their door, threatening to extinguish the light they had found in each other. Would they have the strength to confront the forces that sought to tear them apart? The answer hung in the air, awaiting the courage that could tip the scale forever. The next few days felt like an uphill climb for both Caleb and Maya. The fundraiser was just around the corner, and every hour brought new doubts echoing in his mind. The weight of the community's judgment was heavy, and Caleb found himself glancing nervously at the news articles that seemed to pop up overnight. Billionaire adopts poor girl for PR stunt, the headline screamed, accompanied by scathing opinions from every corner. Maya pressed her little hands to the window, her face illuminated by the fading sun. "Do you think they'll come?" she asked, her voice small. Caleb knelt beside her, trying to meet her gaze, but the flicker of uncertainty in her eyes pierced his heart. "I believe they will," he said, mustering his own enthusiasm. "This is bigger than us, Maya. We're going to show them what love can do." As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting long shadows across the darkening room, he felt a spark of determination rise within him. They would fight together against the world that seemed determined to pull them apart. The day of the fundraiser arrived, bringing with it a nervous energy that buzzed in the air like static. The hall was filled with local residents, business owners, and a few curious media members. Maya stood at the front, dressed in a pink dress that swayed with her every movement, her hair tied up in bright ribbons. She looked like a ray of sunshine against the backdrop of anxious faces. Caleb watched her, his heart swelling with pride. She was so brave. As people took their seats, he stepped up to the microphone, trying to quiet the chaos inside him. "Thank you all for being here today," he began, forcing a smile. "I know you may have questions about my intentions, and I welcome them. But this isn't about me. It's about Maya and the community coming together to support our future." His voice trembled, but he pressed on. "We stand on the brink of something amazing. This girl," he gestured toward Maya, "is not a burden. She is a chance for all of us to grow, to learn, and to love." A murmur passed through the crowd, people exchanging glances. Some fidgeted in their chairs, and Caleb felt his stomach twist like a tightrope. The weight of their doubt hung heavy. Maya stepped forward, her hands gripping the edge of the podium. "I want to be an artist," she said, her voice ringing with confidence. "I want to show everyone how beautiful the world can be. You can help me make that happen." Her emotion poured over the audience, wrapping around them like an embrace. Slowly, he noticed heads nodding, some moved to clap. Hope blossomed. Is this really happening? Caleb's heart raced as he watched people soften, their walls beginning to crumble. Just then, from the back of the room, a familiar face emerged: Maya's stepfather, flanked by two hulking men. The room fell silent, tension snapping like a fragile thread. "I knew you'd be here," Caleb said sharply, locking eyes with the man. The crowd's murmurs surged, uncertainty rippling through the air like a drumbeat. "Look at this spectacle," he shouted, voice dripping with contempt. "Using a girl to make a buck. Pathetic." Caleb's breath hitched. The confrontational energy pierced the moment they had built. But could they rise above the negativity? Gather together to face the chaos brewing? The atmosphere thickened, and all eyes shifted. Will we crumble? He thought. Or will they find strength in their unity? The question hung in the air, charged with an urgency that felt palpable. The next few moments would determine their fate, brimming with the possibility of bravery, or the threat of defeat. Would they find the courage to stand together against the storm? Caleb's heart pounded, the hostility in the air crackling like electricity. He could feel the energy shift in the room, like a soccer ball momentarily frozen in mid-air, waiting for the decisive kick. Maya remained still, her tiny body trembling slightly as she clutched the podium, perhaps sensing the storm brewing. "Shame on you." The voice came from a woman in the second row, her arms crossed defiantly. "This little girl deserves better than being your punching bag." The crowd began to murmur, rallying around that voice like a lifebuoy to a drowning man. Caleb felt the tension begin to break, each heartbeat fueling a spark of defiance. He wanted to shout, to remind everyone this was about love, about possibilities, but all he could do was stand there, overwhelmed by the unexpected support. "Maya, look," he murmured, daring to glance at her. Her big eyes filled with emotion, reflecting a mixture of fear and hope. Caleb smiled gently at her, urging her to keep that flame of courage lit. "You have the heart of an artist, remember that." That was when Maya took a deep breath and stepped away from the podium, standing tall despite the chaos. "My art is my truth," she declared. "It's how I see the world. And this world can be beautiful. Your truth." Her stepfather scoffed, stepping forward, his shadow looming over her like a storm cloud. "You don't know anything about the world, little girl. You're lost." Caleb felt a surge of righteous anger. "That's where you're wrong. Maya is finding herself in this world. And we're here to guide her, not just to place bets on her future." The crowd joined in murmurs of agreement, tension shifting ever so slightly in their favor. People began to rise from their seats, standing for Maya. Caleb caught glimpses of mothers with their children, nodding solemnly, the weight of their own experiences written across their faces. Listen to her. Another voice called, this one deeper and full of authority. The voice came from the back, a local artist well respected, someone who'd seen countless young talents burn bright. This girl deserves a chance, just like any of our kids. With every voice that joined in, fear began to fade from Caleb's heart. Maya turned slightly, looking up at him and whispering, "Are they really on our side?" "They are," he said, his voice steady now. "You've touched them with your light." Maya took a step forward, the crowd parting slightly to let her shine. "I may be small," she said, her voice growing stronger, "but I have big dreams. I want to fill the world with hope through my artwork. If you believe in me, then together, we can change everything." Cheers erupted, a wave of enthusiastic support crashing over them. Even those lingering doubts began to fade. The moment felt alive, a symphony of new possibilities, as voices rose in unison, but then, her stepfather's scoff shattered the joy. "You think they care? They are just curious. Just a show for their own entertainment." His sneer pierced the atmosphere, claiming an ounce of power. Caleb felt a renewed strength surge through him, fueled by the energy of the crowd, the courage in Maya's eyes. "No, they care," he shouted back, determination ringing in his words. "This is not a show. This is a community standing up for one of its own." The air crackled with newfound hope, but uncertainty still lay thick like fog. Could this unity withstand the storm that loomed? Would their resolve hold strong despite the shadows creeping around the edges? Before Caleb could ponder further, he caught sight of a camera focused on the scene, the lens capturing not just the struggle, but the heart of a community ready to fight. Would this moment become their turning point or their downfall? The question vibrated through the hall, waiting to be answered in the next heartbeat. Caleb's heart raced as cheers echoed through the hall, blending into a powerful chorus of support for Maya. He could see the spark in her eyes, igniting with potential and resilience. But the moment felt fragile, teetering between hope and despair, and he wondered how long this harmony could last. Maya's stepfather scoffed again, trying to dismiss the crowd. "You think a few claps can change reality?" he shouted, his frustration boiling over. "She'll still go home with me. You're all just looking for a story to tell." His words hung in the air, and Caleb felt the crowd waver. The voices that had lifted Maya just moments before began to quiet. Pockets of doubt crept back into the room, threatening to deflate the momentum they had built. "Your life doesn't have to be dictated by him," Caleb shouted, desperation creeping into his voice. He focused his gaze on Maya. "You're stronger than this, and you have a whole community ready to catch you if you fall." Maya stood taller, her chin raised, determination radiating from her. "I refuse to let anyone tell me what I can or cannot do. My dreams are valid. And I need people who see me for who I truly am." The crowd erupted once more, the applause a tidal wave of encouragement crashing over all doubts. Families clasped hands, tears of pride and solidarity glimmering in their eyes. Caleb's breath hitched as he caught a glimpse of hope illuminating Maya's face, yet, he couldn't shake the feeling that the worst was yet to come. He turned to see the local artist from earlier, a man with graying hair and a kind smile, push his way to the front. "We stand here united," he declared, voice booming with confidence. "We are not just spectators, we're advocates for change. Maya deserves every opportunity." Her stepfather quickly interjected, "You all are fools. This is not about her art or dreams, it's about reality. She's lost." His voice dripped with disdain, fueling the words with venomous intent. Caleb clenched his fists, eyes narrowing in anger. "No. It's you who is lost. You've clouded her view." He shot back. "She sees the world with a painter's brush, not through the lens of bitterness." The crowd roared again this time, it was a wave of overwhelming belief washing over any remaining shadows. Caleb could feel it. They weren't just fighting for Maya's voice, they were fighting against the suffocating realities many faced, but then, it happened, the unexpected twist that a sound pierced the energy, a loud crash echoing through the hall as a woman stumbled into the room. Caleb recognized her instantly, the head of the community council. Her presence commanded attention, all eyes snapping to her, the moment altering its course once more. "What is going on here?" she demanded, her brow furrowed. She took in the sight of Maya at the podium, the crowd standing defiantly, then the man who claimed her. "People are standing up for a little girl," shouted someone from the crowd, the urgency in their voice igniting the rest. "She needs help." The woman's gaze switched to Maya and then Caleb, quickly assessing the atmosphere. "This isn't just about art, is it? There's more going on." Caleb held his breath, the certainty of change hanging in the air. He stepped forward, ready to share the truth, the urgency behind this fight, but the heaviness of potential consequences pulled at him. Was he ready to expose everything? With all eyes on him, waiting for him to speak, Caleb felt the weight of hope mixed with fear. The suspense thickened, as if the very walls of the hall demanded the truth. What would he reveal? Would their efforts be enough to save Maya, or had they just ignited a storm that would lead to devastation? The answers were waiting, just beyond his courage to voice them. The moment teetered, and Caleb realized the heart of their battle revealed itself a little more every second. Caleb felt the intensity of all those watching him, a wave of energy that threatened to pull him under. The hesitant silence screamed louder than any cheers. He stole a glance at Maya. Her eyes shone with a mix of fear and fierce determination, as if she was silently urging him to speak up. He breathed deep, steadying himself. Maya is more than just a girl with dreams. She is a survivor caught in a situation that no one, least of all a child, should have to face. Her art is not just a hobby, it's her voice. Her expression of everything she has been through and hopes to achieve. The room shifted, murmurs rising as people exchanged worried glances. Caleb continued, feeling the weight of his words roll off his tongue. She needs protection from the very person who claims to love her. He is keeping her locked in a cage forged from his own bitterness. It's time we break those chains. The crowd erupted into applause, furious and passionate. Caleb felt the tide of his own emotions swell. The local artist stepped forward, emboldened. "We can rally together. If we raise our voices, we could touch the hearts of those in power. We must protect Maya's future, her art, and her spirit." Maya looked invigorated, her whole face lit up. This was the spark they needed, and Caleb could see it igniting a fire in others too. The head of the community council nodded, her expression softening but still serious. "But if we approach this situation, we must be mindful that we're handling not just art, but lives intertwined." Caleb's heart sank a touch at her cautiousness, sensing potential backlash. "We can do this, we must do this. We won't let fear dictate their future," he urged, looking at the crowd. "We need to ensure Maya isn't brought back to that environment. We cannot let him win by fear." Maya's stepfather scoffed louder now, angry and desperate. "It won't matter what you say. She is my responsibility with or without you." His eyes darted around, trying to gauge their reactions, defiance seeping from his every word. The crowd was on the precipice of fervor. Someone yelled, "You don't dictate her life anymore." A chorus of agreement chimed back. As voices rose, so did the stakes. Caleb could feel the pull of unity forming, a collective strength being built from shared determination, and it filled him with hope. Maya was no longer alone. As the room tightened into a fray of emotions, the head of the council raised her hand. "Let us calm down," she instructed, but the very air crackled with the excitement of impending change. This was far from over, the fight was just beginning. "Maya," the council member said, her gentleness juxtaposed against the tension. "Is there something you want to say? Something more you need us to know?" All eyes turned to Maya. Caleb squeezed his fists tightly, his heart pounding in anticipation. This was her moment. After all the confusion and sadness, she could give them what they needed to understand. Maya inhaled deeply, her voice cutting through the noise like a lifeline. I paint to escape. she declared, her voice lifting slightly. But I also paint to tell my story about who I am. I don't want to be lost anymore. The crowd gasped collectively. The vulnerability of her confession laid bare the complexity of her situation. Even her stepfather seemed momentarily caught off guard. Caleb felt a surge of protective instinct rise within him. That's right, she's a beacon of resilience. He shouted, his voice wrapping around Maya's words. We stand with you, Maya. Together. As they rallied, Caleb realized this wasn't just a fight for Maya's art or her future, it was a battle for every child who felt trapped, invisible. He dared to believe something might shift, but just as hope began to wash over them, the hall doors burst open again, this time revealing two uniformed officers stepping inside, stern expressions set as if they were here for something crucial. Caleb's heart dropped, the air thick with a sudden reality that overshadowed all their efforts. Had they really stirred enough change, or was this the moment everything collapsed? Maya's breath hitched in her throat as the officers advanced. Their uniforms glinted under the harsh fluorescent lights, a stark reminder of authority that could crush the fragile solidarity that had blossomed. Her heart raced, pounding against her ribs like a frantic drum. Caleb stood firm, eyes locked on the officers, but anticipation twisted in the pit of his stomach. One of the officers, a tall woman with short-cropped hair and piercing blue eyes, started speaking, her voice authoritative yet calm. We're here regarding reports of possible neglect, she announced, her eyes scanning the room and resting on Maya's stepfather. The air shifted, charged murmurs crackled through the crowd. They watched the officers like hawks, their breaths shallow. What does that mean? Someone whispered. Caleb instinctively moved closer to Maya, feeling the need to protect her not just from her stepfather, but from a system that could fail her. Our duty is to ensure the safety and well-being of minors, the other officer said, a man with dark, serious features. We've received information about a child at risk. We need to speak with Maya and understand her situation. A nervous tension rippled through Maya's stepfather. She's fine. There's nothing wrong with her. He stepped forward, his voice taut with anger, as if shouting louder could drown out the truth. Maya's breath caught again. She could feel the weight of the room pressing down. The community that had gathered to support her suddenly felt like a sea of strangers. Would they really step in? Would they see her worth or dismiss her pain? Caleb narrowed his eyes, determination hardening his expression. She deserves to be heard, he shouted, standing between Maya and her stepfather. You can't silence her anymore. She has a voice. The officer nodded, her eyes trained on Caleb. We only want to talk to her. That's our priority right now. A flicker of something crossed her stepfather's face. Fear? Anger? Both? He huffed, the defiance shattering into something more vulnerable. Maya, come here, he snapped, his voice sharper than before. But Maya stood rooted to the spot, the fears that had kept her silent now fueling her strength. She couldn't go back to the dark corners of despair. She took a step forward, her voice growing steadier. I can speak for myself. Caleb felt a surge of pride swell inside him. Yes. Tell them your truth, Maya. The crowd stirred, infected by her bravery. Maya faced the officers. I paint, she said, slowly but firmly. I paint because it's my only way to escape, to express how I feel trapped. I don't want to go back to him. There was a collective intake of breath. The officers exchanged a glance, and for the first time, the flicker of a smile broke through the tension in the room, as if they, too, were beginning to understand the magnitude of what she was sharing. Can you tell us more about your paintings? The female officer asked gently, leaning closer. Maya's trembling fingers fidgeted with the hem of her shirt, but she did her best to hold the officer's gazes. Every color, every brushstroke, it means something, she replied. They're like my heart, they tell my story. As she spoke, her stepfather's scowl deepened. His fists clenched as if her words were physical blows. Caleb could already see the shift. Look at her. He urged the crowd. She's showing you all her truth. She's not alone anymore, right? Rallying murmurs of agreement rippled through the audience, and the voices grew louder. She deserves safety. Her art is her voice. The officers nodded, looking at each other with newfound resolve. The male officer said, Maya, we're here to make sure you are safe and protected. It's important that you feel comfortable and supported, especially now. But just as hope seeped into the promise of change, a voice rang out from the crowd, slicing through the tension like a knife. What if he tries to take her back? What then? Caleb's chest tightened. The gravity of the situation handed them all one simple truth: the fight wasn't over yet. What if they didn't succeed? The possibility hung in the air, threatening to drown the fragile spark of hope. Maya turned to look at Caleb, the weight of uncertainty shadowing her features. What if expressing her truth meant unleashing something darker? Would she be ready for that? With her heart pounding, she spoke again, Please, I just want a chance to be safe. To be me. As silence settled over the room once more, tension replaced by a fragile hope, the world outside faded, narrowing in on Maya's fragile heart. But how would they ensure her safety? The officers exchanged glances but waited, their next words suspended in air heavy with anticipation. Before we proceed, there's one more thing we need to discuss. Maya's gaze flickered between the officers and the worried faces in the crowd. Each heartbeat felt like a countdown, and the pressure was mounting. The female officer took a step forward, her demeanor shifting, more compassionate now. We need to ensure that you are in a safe environment. This is crucial. Maya could feel her stepfather bristling behind her, the tension radiating off him in waves. His anger was like an electric current in the air, threatening to snap. You don't know what you're doing. He shouted, but the crowd hushed him. You're wrong, sir, the male officer stated firmly. What we do know is that Maya is speaking up, and that's what matters. The words hung in the air like a lifeline, pulling Maya from the brink of despair. Caleb's hand found Maya's, squeezing it tightly. It was a reminder of their bond, a silent promise. She was not alone in this fight. As the crowd rallied behind her, Maya felt a flicker of warmth growing in her chest. I just want a home, a safe place, she declared, her voice resonating with everyone around her. One woman stepped forward, her features softened by understanding. We're here for you, Maya. Whatever it takes. The crowd nodded, a wave of solidarity washing over them. Faces that had once felt like distant shadows now seemed close, alive, and filled with a shared purpose. Let us hear her story, the female officer prompted, nodding to Maya encouragingly. Take your time, and know you're safe here. We'll protect you. Maya inhaled deeply, her heart racing as she began to speak of the night spent hiding in her room, of the colors that represented her pain and fear. Each brushstroke on the canvas mirrored her life, a blend of beauty and chaos. My paintings, they make me feel like I exist, she shared, her voice steadying as she recalled the solace they brought her. As she spoke, her stepfather's anger morphed into something darker: desperation. He took a step forward, his face reddening. Enough. You don't know what you're talking about. She's just a kid. But the murmurs from the crowd shifted, growing louder. She has every right to be heard. Let her speak. The officers took a position of authority. We're not dismissing her truth. It's essential, the officer said, her eyes unyielding. You need to sit down. Maya's breath hitched as she glanced back at Caleb, who urged her with his eyes to keep going. It was working. She could feel the shift. I don't want to go back to him, Maya confessed softly, the words spilling out like a secret. He says I'm worthless, but I need. A murmur of disbelief rippled through the crowd at her admission. No one is worthless, shouted an older man, tears welling in his eyes. Maya swallowed hard. I need help, and I want to be with people who care. The officers nodded, taking notes. The male officer's brows furrowed with a combination of concern and determination. Maya, if you feel threatened, we add that to our case. We'll ensure you're placed somewhere safe while we investigate. Questions were answered, yet fear still crawled up Maya's spine. What if they can't help me? She worried, glancing back at Caleb. What if nothing changed? The air felt electric as the officer scanned the crowd. Maya, we have to act quickly. Is there a safe place you can go? Caleb's grip tightened. She can stay with me. He blurted out, not hesitating. My mom will understand. She'll help. Maya's heart raced. Could this be real? Was it possible to feel safe somewhere? The officers exchanged glances again. That may be an option, the female officer said carefully. But we need to evaluate this. As fear and hope crashed into each other inside Maya, the room filled with voices, each offering support. She felt a pull, a chance to break free. And then, just as hope began to settle in for the first time, her stepfather's voice cut through the chaos. You can't take her away from me. She's mine. Her breath hitched, panic clawing at her chest as she wrestled with that truth. How far was she willing to go to find safety? In that split second, Maya realized the battle was far from over. Would she find the courage to stand firm? The officers looked at her, waiting for her decision, a moment teetering on the edge of change. How would she respond? Would she fight for her freedom, or would fear hold her back? Maya's heart pounded like a drum as she stared down her stepfather, the weight of his furious gaze heavy on her chest. She could feel the warmth of Caleb's hand, grounding her like an anchor tossed into chaotic seas. But could that anchor hold? Adrenaline surged through her veins, pushing her closer to that edge she had teetered on for so long. Please, Maya, her stepfather snarled, desperation creeping into his voice. You don't know what you're doing. You need me. I need to feel safe, Maya replied, her voice steadier than the turmoil inside. With each word, she felt a small part of her fear dissipate, like the mist leaving the air on a bright new morning. The crowd buzzed with tension, their support swelling around her like a protective barrier. Maya could see the outrage on their faces, people she'd never met, yet somehow felt more connected to than her own family. No one belongs in fear, someone shouted. Not you, not any child. The female officer stepped closer to Maya, softening her demeanor even further. You're powerful, Maya, more than you know. This is your moment. Maya's breath quickened. The word struck a chord deep within her, igniting a spark of defiance that had long been buried. I want to live my life, she declared, her voice strong and clear. Not in fear but in hope. The crowd erupted, each cheer igniting more courage within her. Even her stepfather stepped back slightly, surprised at the swell of unity against him. All right then, darling, he spat, sarcasm lacing his words. Let us see how long that lasts once you're on your own. Maya's heart dropped at his comment, but the resolve soon replaced the sting of his insult. This time, she wouldn't crumble under that weight. She had a chance now, an unsteady, shaky chance, but a chance nonetheless. Enough. The male officer stepped forward again, his tone brokering no argument. Maya, we're moving you to a safe location now. You'll have support, and we'll be with you every step of the way. Maya felt the tremor of fear in her legs, but the realization that she could choose hope instead poured light into the deepest corners of her heart. Her stomach fluttered at the thought of being somewhere that felt like home, somewhere she could breathe without fear constricting her chest. But then, her stepfather narrowed his eyes, plotting his next move. You think they can protect you? You have no idea what they'll do if you hide behind them. His voice shook with anger and disbelief. It was as though the air became thick, every breath becoming harder to take. Maya's throat tightened, suddenly unsure of everything she had just declared. Could they really protect her? What would it mean to leave him behind? What if he finds me? She whispered, the fear creeping back in, gnawing at her mind. "You're not alone," Caleb said fiercely, stepping closer. "You'll never be alone again." Taking a breath, Maya steeled her spine as she faced his gnarled despair, unyielding. "I'm choosing my future and it's nothing like you." In the distance, sirens wailed, cutting through the tension in the air like a knife. Voices around her mingled in an electric hum, the fear eclipsed by determination. As the officers moved in to help, Maya felt a strange mix of exhilaration and terror cloud her thoughts. She was perhaps just beginning to understand the weight of her own promises. But the lingering questions hung above her like storm clouds. What awaited her in this safe place? Would she truly find the solace she craved? And just how far would her stepfather go to drag her back into the shadows? Maya clutched Caleb's hand tighter, propelled by a mixture of hope and fear, knowing she was on the precipice of an unknown world that could shape her very destiny. And as the crowd parted, revealing the path ahead, one thought echoed in her mind like a battle cry: "I will fight for my future." Would she discover the strength within her heart to embrace that future, or would fear drive her back inside and snuff out the light? As the officers surrounded Maya and Caleb, forming a protective circle, Maya felt her heart racing like a startled rabbit. The sirens wailed in the distance, but their sound was now a promise of freedom instead of a harbinger of dread. Yet, her stepfather's voice still echoed in her mind, mingling anguish with anger. "They can't protect you forever." The male officer glanced at her, his expression stern yet sympathetic. "Maya, listen to me. You're safe now. We have a plan in place." His voice carried a firmness that calmed the chaos inside her, if only just slightly, but how safe was she really? The nagging worry nestled deep in her chest like a stone. What if he could find her? What if he pursued them, fueled by rage and desperation? Maya felt Caleb's presence beside her, his hand warm around hers. He leaned down, whispering, "You're not just running away. You're running towards something better. Remember that." His words struck a chord of comfort amidst the roaring anxiety. She wanted to believe him, wanted to grasp the vision of a future filled with hope, a life where laughter outshone tears and the shadows didn't loom over her every move. Suddenly, the crowd parted, and an officer motioned for Maya to follow. Beyond the bubble of safety formed by the officers, the world felt different, less oppressive and more inviting. The fresh air filled her lungs as they stepped away from the scene, inching towards a van waiting to escort her to safety. "Maya!" Someone called from the crowd. It was a familiar face, one of her teachers who had always believed in her. "Ms. Collins." She rushed forward, concern etching her features. "Are you okay, honey?" I think so," Maya replied, her voice wavering. For a fleeting moment, seeing someone she trusted made her feel less alone. "Hold on tight," Ms. Collins said, her eyes shimmering with unshed tears. "You're doing the right thing." Maya squeezed Caleb's hand even harder, drawing strength from his presence. The van's sliding door opened, and the officer gestured for her to enter. She hesitated, her heart beating in her ears like a war drum. "What's it going to be like?" she whispered, as if saying it too loudly would shatter the moment. Caleb's eyes sparkled with determination. "We'll take it one step at a time. You don't have to have it all figured out right now." Taking a deep breath, Maya glanced back at the crowd, who were still rallying in solidarity. Familiar faces blurred into an ocean of support, a shield that momentarily insulated her from reality. "I can do this," she repeated to herself, her voice stronger now. She stepped up into the van, Caleb right behind her. As the sliding door closed, she watched the faces outside grow distant. Fear swirled, but the hope she clutched felt bright. The officer in the front seat turned around. "You're brave, Maya. And bravery is the first step towards freedom." Maya smiled weakly, her heart flipping in her chest. Maybe she truly was brave. And yet, amidst all the relief, a thought gnawed at her: what awaited her in this new life? Would the scars of her past ever truly fade? As they drove away, the cityscape blurred past the window. A mix of anticipation and dread filled her. How long would it take to feel safe? Just then, Caleb turned to her, his expression focused. Maya, I know this is hard, but we'll figure it out together. You can always count on me. What if in this new chapter of her life, she found more than safety? What if she discovered truths that could change everything she had ever known? With each passing moment, the weight of the unknown grew heavier. She was leaving behind the darkest parts of her life, but standing on the edge of a new beginning promised as many questions as answers. Maya turned toward the road ahead, a flicker of resolve igniting within her. Could she truly embrace this new world waiting for her? And just how deep would her journey of healing take her? The days passed slowly for Maya and Caleb as they settled into a new rhythm. The little van that had once felt like a cage now felt like a cocoon, wrapping them in safety. They were living in a bright, cheerful house that smelled like fresh paint and cookies baking in the oven, so different from the haunting shadows of her old life. Maya spent hours rediscovering herself, painting vibrant canvases that expressed the whirlpool of emotions twisting inside her. Each stroke of her brush became a statement of resilience. As she painted, Caleb offered encouraging words, infusing her work with a sense of purpose, helping her understand that she had transformed from a frightened girl into a powerful artist with a voice worth hearing. Soon, the art began to reflect her journey. Colors that once were dull with despair bloomed into radiant hues full of hope and possibility. This is your story, Maya. He'd say, his pride beaming like the sun, and with every word, her confidence grew, but even in her newfound sanctuary, echoes of her past clung to Maya. Her stepfather remained a dark cloud overhead, threatening to reclaim control. Though the officers had ensured her immediate safety, she often lay in bed at night, anxiety spiraling like the shadows that once enveloped her. What if he came back for her? What if he learned where she was? Caleb noticed the quiet struggles etched on her face as she painted. You're stronger than he'll ever know, he reminded her gently one evening, lighting up the otherwise dim room with his unwavering faith. What you're doing is powerful. Maya nodded, but something inside still felt unsettled, like a balloon on the verge of bursting. It wasn't just the fear of her past, it was the responsibility of her future. What if I fail? She whispered one night as they sat side by side on the floor, surrounded by her artwork. What if I can't keep this up? Caleb turned to her, his eyes soft but firm. Failing doesn't undo the courage it took to start. Remember, every artist has their battle. You're not alone in this. I believe in your journey. Those words became a thread of light guiding her through the darkness. Taking a deep breath, she felt her resolve strengthen. She wasn't just fighting for herself anymore, she was standing up for all those children silenced by fear. The day of the local art exhibit came, the one Caleb had helped arrange to showcase her work and spread awareness about child welfare and the importance of protection for vulnerable kids. As they made their way through the bustling crowd, Maya's heart raced with anticipation and trepidation. She was ready to tell her story, to use her voice no longer hidden away in silence. The gallery overflowed with people. It was a mosaic of familiar faces and new allies, all there to support her. A mix of hope and nerve settled in her stomach as she approached one of her paintings, titled Resilience Rising. The colors danced across the canvas like the journey she had endured. For the first time, it didn't just represent her, it symbolized the community standing together. As people began to gather and admire her art, a hush fell over the room, like a collective breath being held. This one is special, an older woman said, her eyes glistening with tears. It speaks of strength. Encouraged, Maya stepped forward, her heart pounding. I painted this to show that even when we feel broken, we rise stronger. Every piece of art I create reflects a truth, and that truth is mine, but it is also for all of us. This is our strength collectively. As she spoke, she felt the shadows slowly retreat, replaced by a warmth that pulsed through the crowd. They were listening. They were understanding, and suddenly, it didn't matter if her stepfather was lurking in the shadows. She had found her voice. Caleb watched from the sidelines, tears forming in his eyes, heart swelling with pride. This girl, once so lost, was now radiating with hope. As Maya captivated the audience with her story of pain, life, love, and growth, he felt a sense of determination rise. It was more than just their journey, it was a collective mission. When the moment came and Maya opened the floor for questions, a brave local artist raised her hand. "What can we do to help?" she asked, her face filled with passion. "How can we ensure more kids like you find their way to safety?" Maya paused, her heart racing with the power of the question. "We need to keep talking. We need to bring light to these stories. Advocate for change. Work together to ensure every child knows they can have a future just like I am beginning to." Cheers erupted in the gallery, their voices a vault of energy pushing her forward. As the evening continued, Maya felt a wave of camaraderie envelop her as they stood united against the darkness she had once faced alone. It was a celebration blended with purpose, a promise made to keep each other safe. In that moment, she realized her battle was not just hers. It belonged to everyone who had ever fought for love, support, and recognition. She felt her stepfather's looming threat fade into mere chatter, the noise of a distant storm beaten back by the warmth of community. Waves of connections washed over her, a testament that family could be chosen, built from acceptance and love. True protection didn't only come from a safe space but from those who genuinely cared, fostering hope and understanding. As the exhibit drew to a close, Caleb and Maya stood side by side, gazing at the sea of faces that had come together to support them. She felt a new sense of direction bloom inside her, a promise that echoed in her heart. She was not only free now but alive, her voice soaring among the stars. "Thank you," she whispered to Caleb, fresh tears lighting her eyes. As she squeezed his hand, they both understood their journey was just beginning. Could they not just survive, but thrive in this new path together? Each step, not towards fear, but embracing the possibility, a life woven with hope bright enough to chase away the shadows forever. This is the moment. You need to subscribe now to stay connected to stories that uplift and inspire. Leave a like now to show your support. Every single click matters. Comment your thoughts and feelings about this incredible ending. Your voice shapes our community. And don't wait not even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to witness this transformation. Together, let us empower others.